Pause. I'm all business today. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get this fucking thing done.
Big business.
Big business.
That's always your sign of quality, that you're just trying to rush through it as, fast as humanly possible.
Hey, thanks, Neil, for taking this positive and just turning it right into a fucking negative. Thanks for that. Thanks for that, man. Thanks for that.
That's what I'm here for.
It is. Just eternally to bring me down. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming, and you, dear listener, have chosen for whatever reason to listen to another Horrible Gaming Podcast. But I'm not alone, and usually I'm never alone. With me is...
That's Neil, a.k.a. Tiny Wizard.
But we are not alone today. We are joined by the third member of the Foundation.
Yo, what's up, old man fam? Philbilly 330 here, back again for the podcast.
Bill Master General in the house, and just get used to him because we're about to hit December, and it's all our busy
That's
podcast
true. Yeah.
time. So you'll be hearing us at all times. But we're gonna talk BG3 today, guys. Phil loves BG3. We wouldn't have a full Baldur's Gate 3 episode without having Phil on. I love it. Neil loves it. We've all had our ups and downs. So we're gonna talk about it. We're also gonna talk about why it's probably the best game of this year, possibly the best game ever made. And you guys are just going to have to deal with that.
Damn it. You motherfuckers.
If you're not a fan of BG13, this isn't going to be the episode for you. I'm going to tell you that right now. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure we'll point out some negatives. I have one or two. But, if you're not a fan of BG3, this is not the podcast for you right now. But before we get into all that, we got to thank the people who have made this possible. Behind our ugly mugs is a fancy custom graphic that is provided by Mr. Mark Bell. We thank him for that. And of course, the theme song for this show and all of the shows here at Old Man Gaming is provided by the man who makes the music, my brother Nick Van Siders. We thank him for that.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, that brings us to our first segment, our most important segment. That is fan interaction. That's where we, the co-hosts, talk to you guys, the fans. We read out all your comments and all the places that you post them, and then we also remember to see them. And we just talk about them here on the air. We chat about them, give our opinions. We start off with Backdraft today. I fully agree with you, Zach, on one aspect. Gameplay trumps graphics. But I think Jeremy was trying to say that the tools/programs and skill sets available today, there's no reason we can't have both worlds. Cough. BG3, cough. I do want to say this. I agree with you. I think there was a lot of misunderstanding between me and Jeremy in that episode on the whole graphics/gameplay thing. One of the things I wanted to make clear, though, is that not everybody does have the tools and programs to make the game pretty. I'm talking about independent developers here. And I think those guys, their gameplay trumps graphics every time, in my opinion. I'm playing for the King 2 right now. Not graphically amazing at all, but I love playing it. It's just a fun game. So I think that I think there was a miscommunication between me and him where yeah, if you're a AAA company, there's no reason that you can't have both. BG3 sets the bar for that. I was kind of trying to make the point more in the favor of the independent studios and what they're able to do. The 1 to 5 man teams, that are putting these games together and still making these absolutely amazing immersive games, but using stuff like pixel graphics and hex-based stuff and sprites and stuff. So that's what I was kind of trying to get to. Though I do agree, the tools are there for the AAA companies have absolutely no excuse, which I'm sure we'll talk about today.
Yeah, we kind of went over this last time too, but yeah, there's definitely There's definitely a balance, but it's one of those things that's weird. It can be out of balance in one direction, but not the other.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, it all comes down to the gameplay.
Yeah.
And that is why you're there.
Yeah.
You're not there to play a shitty ass game that just looks pretty.
Right.
If you want to do something like that, you'll just put a movie on.
Well, and if EA or fucking Bethesda or whatever wants to sell me a sprite-based pixel game that's really good for a discounted price with no season pass, no battle pass, no loot boxes or any of this other bullshit, and it's good, I'm just as happy with that. I don't care as long as it's good. Like, if that's what you want to sell me, as long as it's good, I'm down, you know? I think the biggest problem is they want to put all this shit into it, and they also want to they want to overbuild. They want to make it so graphically pretty that they fail to make everything right, and that's where all the bugs come from. I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. I like graphics. I like looking at graphics, but graphics are usually the cause of your issues, you know, because you're trying to make that game pretty. That's the complex programming that these guys are doing to make it pretty. So all these bugs that everybody talks about when these AAA games come out, which it's regular. Every time we get a AAA game, we get 3 to 4 weeks of bugs right off the bat. That stuff comes from the graphics. That comes from programming it with the graphics. You know?
I think it can. It depends what company you're talking about, because so many of them are so big that, like, I think part of the problem is you'll have, like, one team focused on graphics solely, and then another team focused on the story, and then
they don't mesh
somehow all these things have to come together, and it gets lost in the...
I totally agree. That's still what I'm... what I'm trying to say is they try and make these things... They try and think about size and visual fidelity before... They try to think about wow factor before they try and think about, do we just have a good, solid game experience here? You know? Like whatever the bloating is, there's bloating, and that's where all this shit comes from, you know?
I don't even know how if I can define how I feel on graphics, because it just depends from thing to thing. It depends what I'm playing.
I mean, I'm never unhappy to see nice graphics. Like, never unhappy with nice graphics. I'm never going to look at something pretty and go, that's not pretty. You know, it's just like...
I don't like the Minecraft stuff, but that's just not for me.
Well, and that's fair.
It just depends what it is, I guess.
That's totally fair. But, like, I have a game that I bought for, I want to say $15 called Buccaneers. It's an open world pirate game. They used Minecraft-style sprites to make their lives easier. But it's like old school Sid Meier's Pirates, but you actually pirate the pirate ship, and you can fire cannons, and it's just you sail around doing stuff. It's a very simple game. But, like, for me, I'm totally okay with the Minecraft stuff because there's a quality game here, and I can obviously see that this one guy who was making this game, what he was trying to do, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say, though, like if that looked beautiful, would I not go, oh, this is pretty? Of course I go, this is pretty. It's just, am I sacrificing gameplay for that? Because if I am, you can keep it, you know?
Have you ever noticed, or is it just me, that with certain games, like, it doesn't even matter, though? Like, for instance, like Pokemon. So I've played, like, the Pokemons from the time I was 6 until, not the newest ones, but pretty recently. So I've seen, like, you know, from sprite to 3D graphics. It doesn't make a difference in that kind of game to me. Like, it has no bearing. Like, I'm not put off by the 3D ones, but they don't. It doesn't
turn the needle. Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't push the needle at all. I don't know.
It just depends for me which kind it is. Yeah. What kind of game it is.
I like this second comment. Might be a comment of the night. Jason comes in with, I can't wait for Halo Infinite +1. Because they're making another one.
Oh, there's more with that. We'll get into the news.
Oh, I didn't see any Halo news, so you might have caught one I didn't. All right. Then Jason continues. Starfield is fine, but yes, it gets boring when you've done everything, and then you complete the game. And if you choose to go into the anomaly, you lose all your material stuff, including your ships. So I was like, nah. Also, belated spoilers. I don't give a fuck. I don't think that's really spoilers, man. Unless you're looking at the stories, people aren't really gonna know what you're talking about there. I do because I've read synopsises and stuff. Again, I don't hate Starfield. I stand by my review. It's a fine game. It's just not. It's just
okay.
For
Right.
10 years. Yeah, exactly. It's okay for 10 years of hype. And this is what I was saying last week. If that game had come out without any hype whatsoever, right? We hadn't heard about it, and then Bethesda had announced it like 4 months ahead and been like, hey, Starfield's about to come out. It's this Skyrim space game. And then it came out. I think everybody it would have been great. I think I might have actually liked it more. I think 10 years of hype for it to be a middle-of-the-road RPG. The other thing is, and I said this last time, I felt like Skyrim was way more open with its stories, its progressions, its plot lines than Starfield was. As big and as open as Starfield was, the stories themselves are very narrow boxes that you have to follow. They are a through line, and I hate that. I mean, that was one of the cool things about Skyrim, is that you could go in any direction and find a story to play, and when you played that story, you could play that story how you wanted to play that story. That's one of the reasons I keep comparing it to BG3 in many ways. BG3 is a much more like refined, it's not this huge massive open world that you could just walk in any direction, but everything in the game is handleable in thousands of ways, basically. So you play the game in the way you want to. It gives you that freedom within its own confines, within its own rules. Skyrim did that. Starfield doesn't. It doesn't do that. I haven't felt that way. I feel like when I went to the pirate story became this narrow through line that I was just going through the motions on. I didn't have any control over the outcome of that story. I didn't really have any control over the outcome of my conversations. Like, it was like missions plotted on a board, you know? So it's to me, Starfield is the illusion of freedom. You know, because it's this promise of all these thousands worlds, but you're only going to visit so many of them because you're just going to be going from point A to point B to point A all the way to Z until you find another storyline to do that with.
Yeah, I think it kind of comes down to what we talked about whenever Cyberpunk came out. Like, there is like this critical mass that you can achieve for hype, and then at that point it starts doing damage.
Yeah,
because it just swells up to this being that you just can't, like, nobody can live up to the expectation of what something's going to be.
Yeah.
It works in, like, we have other games like that show that something like this works. Take a game like Hi-Fi Rush that came out.
Yeah.
If this was announced like 2 years ago, sure, people would be like, oh, you know, cool. That's interesting idea, you know, whatever. It'd be whatever. Hi-Fi Rush was surprise dropped, available like the day that it was announced, and it kind of exploded there for a minute.
And it did
I
that
don't think it's
exactly.
in Game of the Year talks. But,
no, it
know.
is exactly the reason that you're saying. It wasn't hyped at all, and then it was a competent game that came out of nowhere, and people went crazy for it for that period. If that had been 2 years prior and it had come out, it would have drastically underwhelmed everybody. You know?
Yeah.
And, like, I don't think Hi-Fi Rush was a bad game. It's a nice little game. But, like, yeah, I think the hype train is a really, really fucked up thing to do, and it's the downfall of so many games. I'm getting really sick of companies promising absolute freedom in games and then delivering narrative, story-driven RPGs, you know? And that's something, like Cyberpunk, that's another thing about Cyberpunk that I hated, is that the promise of Cyberpunk was do anything, romance anyone, fight anyone, steal anything, you know, it was do anything in that game. And then when you play the game, even aside from all the fucking nasty-ass bugs, when you play the game, it's very story driven, and there is not a lot of freedom in the narrative of how you do stuff. You look at Starfield, it's the same way. It's like this promise of this huge freedom, and you're not delivered on any of it. And I'm just getting sick of that. If you want to promise me a really cool, big RPG, a narrative RPG, cool. But stop promising me this, true freedom shit,
Yeah, I think it really comes down to game companies kind of conflating freedom to go anywhere and freedom to play the game a certain way. Is to they're not two sides of the same coin. They're entirely different things.
Yeah.
Because you can be put in a massive sandbox and told, well, here's a series of missions. Sure, you can roam around between them, but that kind of is what it is. Whereas something like Skyrim, something like Baldur's Gate, okay, yeah, you have this big open world, and by the way, do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
We can suggest places for you to go, but you can tell us to fuck off.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the I'm sorry, go ahead, Phil. Didn't mean to interrupt.
All I was saying with my comment the other week wasn't really to dump on the game either. I was just saying that the only way I could see it as being this huge success would be the modding community.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, it wasn't going to do it on its own. That wasn't to say it was a total garbage game. It was just...
This was a you comment. I don't think any of us took it that way. I also think Starfield is in a year of Game of the Year contenders. It's been, you've got Baldur's Gate 3, you've got Remnant 2 out there, you've got all sorts of fucking shit just floating around.
Had it come out last year, maybe it would have looked better.
Yeah, I agree. It would have been a shining star last year, but this year, not so much. So, moving on. Nightwing is in his mid-20s, I think. If Batman is in his mid-30s, he was 10 when he took in Grayson as Robin. Yeah. I mean, you just keep going back to the comic. I hate that about comics. They never really progress. They just keep resetting. And passage of time, man. I want to see the story come to a resolution. You just keep... It's like a loop-de-loop, man. I gotta get off the merry-go-round eventually. Jason then, in response to his insane comment of the entirety of a song, he says, "I cannot believe you actually read that thing." And I'm going to say this right now, and then he posted a link to whatever the original song was. I'm going to tell you right now, Jason, I made a promise, and we don't have a lot that we can truly give you guys on this show. We can't give you quality podcasts here or quality programming. We can give you quantity, and we can be honest with you. I said I would read any comment that was posted on the YouTube channel. I read it. That being said, we have a new rule. I will no longer be reading any full songs posted to the comment section from here on out. Just saying that one more time for everybody. Then we move on to William Hu and hi! Exclamation point. Games in general would be way better received if they stopped overhyping them. Funny, we just talked about this. Imagine Starfield dropping from nowhere instead of being hyped for years. Just talking about. I didn't even know this was a comment. Spider-Man, on the Spider-Man cereal box, I don't blame the company for selling at $70. I blame the people for buying it. If they didn't sell any, this would stop instantly. Thanks for the show. Hashtag I'm the one that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I hate to blame the victim, but a lot of that stuff comes up in games, and I've said it before. I mean, the reason we are in this position as gaming consumers is because we have allowed ourselves to be in this position as gaming consumers. It is an unfortunate reality, but the reason there's no refund policy, the reason games cost so much, the reason there's loot boxes and battle passes and all of this shit is because we have allowed this to happen. And it's because we give them our money and we never even stop to think maybe we shouldn't do this time. That's a problem. It's just a problem.
Yeah, that's the thing is, everybody always talks about, like, voting with your wallet. It does go both ways.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, the victim chose to be the victim, so you can blame them. They bought a $70 box of cereal.
That's true.
Yep.
That's true. I would never do that.
I think dumbass game shit. So
I think that too, there is a level of, like, not on the cereal box thing, but on the gaming thing, there is a level of the companies know exactly what they're doing. They're leveraging the hype. They're weaponizing hype against you, basically, because they're weaponizing hype. They're weaponizing FOMO. They're like, you get to a point when if you don't have that game on day one, you've missed out, and that. I mean, they leverage it against you, but it's hard. Just don't do it. Don't do it. And then finally, Jason, for some people, $70 is nothing. And they will get these special crap. That's why these companies do this. And Wheaties boxes are already a collectible item.
Yeah, they are actually.
They are.
Because there's people that have like Michael Jordan Wheaties boxes.
Yeah, I remember those back in the day. This is.
I don't
true.
know if they're worth anything, but
I have no idea. I mean, that's really the value of the collection.
People who are buying the Wheaties boxes, I mean, it was enough for them to put out Spider-Man ones, so that somebody's willing to pay.
I mean, that's one of my biggest problem with all this collector's shit too, is because that stuff isn't collector's items. We talked about it last week. The things that collectors really want, the things that collectors are really looking for on the internet and stuff, they're not things that are marked collector's items. They're like Star Wars toys and Series 1 wrestler figures and shit like that. I want to see a package in pre-order collector's item, and I did do air quotes for the people who can't see me, that has in any way, shape, or form gone up in value. But I'm probably inviting ruin on this, but post links in the comments of this episode if you know of any fucking statue or fucking bobblehead that came with a pre-order collectible game that has increased in value. Please, I want definitive proof of this, because that's my thing. Anything labeled collector's item, I don't think it's a fucking collector's item. I mean, maybe a comic, if a comic came with one, because comic people are nuts. But, like, I don't know. I don't see a lot of that. So, that's fan traction for today, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to talk Baldur's Gate 3. Very excited about it. We all have a collective love for this game. It's been a while since we've done a full episode deep dive on a game. I think this is a perfect one. And, yeah. Very excited about it. So we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to talk some Baldur's Gate 3. We'll see you guys in a second.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to our talking point. Our talking point is Baldur's Gate 3. Why it should probably be Game of the Year. Before we get into this, I do want to just say really quickly, we're probably going to have some negatives, whatever, but I do want to try and stay away from the other companies, like discussing the other companies being afraid of Baldur's Gate 3, mainly because we've just discussed it so much. I think all three of us are in complete and total unified agreement that a bar is not set by people going on Twitter and saying it's not a bar. It's set by the quality of the things out there, and right now the bar of RPGs is Baldur's Gate 3 when it comes to video games, and nobody can say otherwise because it's the fucking best one. So we all know that the companies tried to kind of shoot it down and take shots at it. We've talked about it a ton. I'd rather keep this just about the game if you guys are okay with it.
Totally fine.
All right, cool. So, let's get the negatives out of the way.
what's interesting about this is I have a feeling that each one of us has different things that we don't like.
I know. And that's why I want to do the negatives first. Get it out of the way so we can go on a positive note. And yeah. Well, let's do the negatives first. Who wants to start?
Well, I guess I'll go with the one thing that's really kind of frustrated me, and I've talked about this before. I don't know if this is just because we're playing on PS5, but navigation doing split screen is near impossible. I don't know if it's a little bit different on PC or if it's different for single player, but I would like to be able to turn off different things that I have set, like quest markers. Anytime I touch base with somebody that like sets me down the path of another quest, I'll just get another notch. So my screen is lit up right now with like 9 different things, but I want to do one specifically. So I'll try to drop a little pin, a custom pin, to like kind of go towards that area the best I can. And I just can't get there because I can't see through all of the other crap.
So I will give you that on the split screen. I did a little bit of split screening with Stella, and I will say I didn't have as much problems with the mini map, but bringing up the map is kind of weird. When playing alone, I just bring up the map and I look at the one that I'm trying to do, and then I just come out of the map and go in that direction of that one. But I will say, I'll give you the fact that like every time you get a quest, it drops the exact same colored marker on your map, in your mini map, and you'll end up with like 6 or 7 of them.
I just want to be able to.
Yeah.
I just want to.
That's so weird. I think I don't play. I barely use it. I barely like
the mini map.
I don't use it. I go in my. Like I'll go in the journal if there's a specific thing I want to do, and I'll hit track this quest, and then it might give me a thing in my mini map, but I just pull up the map, look at where I need to go, fast travel to the whatever waypoint I have that's nearest to it, and then I just walk there. Like I don't interact with it that way. That's weird.
That's very interesting.
I must play it different. Like I almost more just roam around, and then like I explore the entire map. So eventually I become so accustomed to the map that I don't really use it.
That's interesting.
It's funny you bring that up because I like very much feel sometimes like I'm doing it wrong. Like
I don't think it's wrong.
I feel like a crazy person. Like when I'm just like, I know how to look at a map and go to a place. Like, why is this so difficult? Like, it's to the point sometimes where I will take like I'll walk straight for like 10 seconds, then stop, hit at least on the PlayStation, it's just that big old touchpad. So I'll touch that, bring up the map, say, okay, I need to go this way, and then start going. Or occasionally, I've also pulled it up to where, like, if Kayla and her party member are off a different way, I'll look at the map and use her moving around to navigate as well. As like a point of reference, like my own little compass.
That's crazy. I just never played that way.
That is interesting.
To that.
I've definitely had it where like I've noticed that every time you get a quest, whether it's a side quest or a main quest, it's all the same like little gold cross thing. And so I have like 7 or 8 of them on my mini map at any given time, but I just constantly bring up the map, find the one that says the thing I need, and go in that direction. But what's crazy too is I never use fast travel. I hate fast travel. I hate it.
Run everywhere?
I run everywhere. Because, here's why. Because every time I run everywhere, I somehow manage to take a different route back to the place that I got, and I run into something new. Like you said, you scout like the whole map, which is a very it's a very analytical way to like go about it, which is cool. So you would never play it this way, but for me, I want to do things because I want to play through it multiple times, and I don't want to do the same stuff every time. So what I'll do is I just take my character through, and then what I do, and what I don't, and then I just keep going through till I'm done. And then the next time when I play, I'll run into different shit. With what's interesting with this is every time I just go from base to a mission and then come back, I run into some fucking new insanity because I don't use the fast travel. I hate using the fast travel in that game because it's like I want to see these guys run into stuff. I want to see what accidental shit I end up smacking into randomly between the thing, because this game is just so chock full of shit that you could miss. Just to point it out, things that I have completely missed with just my own characters. I have one character who has never gotten Gale. I have one character who never got Lizelle. I have another character.
So crazy.
And apparently, there's an owlbear that you can fight in Act 1. I've never even seen the mission for the owlbear. I don't even know what that entails. I don't know how. I haven't seen it, but I haven't even seen it. And
you did.
Maybe I did, but I never fought an owlbear anywhere.
You have to seek him out. But you remember the first dude that you run into where it's like two people and there's a guy on the ground and the guy is infected with the worm?
I never ran into them. We didn't even do that in our game. Yeah, I never ran into them. I don't know what you're talking about.
Wow. Okay.
Like, that's what I'm saying about this game.
You took a path like 20 feet away from them.
Right.
And just
well, you remember when we just let everybody
into
this.
He didn't know where Withers came from.
I still haven't met Withers. I need
to find him.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Phil, after you pointed it out in our game, right? Because me and Phil are doing a show for the channel, guys. It's just taking us a really long time to record it because our schedules are fucking insanity. But you know how we got to the ruins that you said that's where Withers is?
Mm-hmm.
I went back through with my monk. I went all through that area, and I still didn't find him. So somehow I missed the one little place where he is. That's what's great about this game is it's so chock full of detail. You think you've seen everything, you haven't even seen half of it. It's crazy. When I went back through with Phil in the game, spoilers for our show, he showed me where Lizelle is. I literally walked right past her probably 32 times, like in the course of what I was doing, and just because I never turned right at a fork in the road, I never found her. It's just insane to me how in depth that game. But somehow we're turning this negative into a positive.
It's a testament to the game, though, honestly.
I want to say my biggest negative, and I'm over this negative now because I can say with play you start to get it. But my biggest negative with this is how closely tied to an understanding of Dungeons & Dragons it is. I didn't feel like the tutorials in the beginning really did justice to explaining everything properly to how to play. And I am not a guy who is aware of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I haven't played since 3rd edition, and my memory of it is... And that was 20 years ago, so my memory is waning at best. So I was very fucking lost in it, and it kind of... I'm not saying it doesn't tell you anything, but it kind of doesn't... It really kind of expects you to... They've played D&D, they must have to play this. It's kind of how they look at it. That drove me nuts. It really drove me nuts about this one. It gets really good. But there is another thing that I don't like about it. I understand why it's not in there. I'm not going to take points off for Larian, but every CRPG I have ever played has cover mechanics. This does not. And with this not having cover mechanics, there have been so many times where I've walked, when I first started playing, where I walked a dude in front of partial cover and he just got annihilated. Because in Wasteland or Lamplighters League, they would have been fine. That would have boosted their percentage to not be hit. But in this, there's no real cover. I understand there's too many details for them to have gotten that one in here too. It's just, if you're coming from a CRPG background, or having played those other CRPGs, and maybe Phil will disagree with me on this, but if you're coming from that, I just expected that to be there, and it wasn't, and it cost me some serious damage in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a wall, obviously. If it breaks line of sight, it acts as cover. But
right.
As far as mechanically, Larian chose to trade in cover, quote unquote, for verticality.
Yeah.
And it didn't bother me because I played the Divinity series, and which are also Larian games. they don't use cover either.
I have not actually played the Divinities, so I gave examples of games that aren't Divinity. And I was never saying that the full cover. I meant like most CRPGs that I'm talking about, if you walk up to a wall, they'll like duck behind the wall, and then it gives them a bonus to not being hit regularly, you know, from people being shot in that direction.
But if they have that, then that's always in like the tutorial thing to explain how to use cover. And the other thing is D&D doesn't have a cover mechanic.
Right.
It kind of is, but it's like, but it's more in line like what you were talking about, like with like verticality. It's like, it also depends on how rulesy your DM is.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's a ton of people, like, I don't think people do with spells verbal component, or the semantic, physical component or material component, and whatever. Like, those things there, I think there are some things that are really in for the hardcore D&D, but I think like you mentioned,
some
like,
of
this
that's
is
in there.
I'm
Like
sure.
Silence.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, stuff like that. I'm talking like, so like with certain spells require like, oh, you have to have a feather from something else. And like, nah, screw that.
I always hated that.
That I never play that. Like, even like carrying capacity, I always give my players just like a magical bag of holding that's shared. You all have at it. But like,
encumbrance is stupid in role playing games. Not to go off the subject, but just common sense. Every time I get into a conversation about TTRPG, people and they're like, what should we do with encumbrance? I'm like, it is the most boring, annoying system that any game has ever come up with. Just like, well, how much could they carry in their backpack? Well, how many swords could they carry in their backpack, bro? One, tops, and that's probably going to damage the backpack. Like, use common sense on it and be done.
Even when it's implemented.
Yes,
so
because somebody always figures out how to carry a refrigerator.
Yeah, even in D&D, I have a guy with 6 great axes, 4 shields, and it's like, it's stupid.
Yeah.
So it's funny you mentioned that, because my character, my barbarian, I have been collecting, because I don't have anything like ranged. I'm playing a Dragonborn, so I'll have my breath weapon, but that's about it.
Yeah.
When it comes to range, I fully rely on the bag of shit that I've just carried around, that I'm just throwing at dudes. Like, stuff like that. Like, that is, I tell you what really kind of made me open my eyes and be like, holy shit, like the amount of detail that's in this game.
Yeah.
When I looked through all of the actions, and dip was one of them, I'm like,
yeah.
And I looked at it for a second. I'm like, wait, what does that mean? Because like, you don't think that they're going to give that much detail, and sure as shit, yeah, go ahead. Dip your sword in oil. Catch that shit on fire. Flaming swords for everyone. Like, what the hell? And it's like, it makes you think entirely different. It makes you think like you're not playing a video game, which is just like, I think one of the highest praises that I can give to this thing.
Yeah.
You know, a trick with dipping? If you throw a simple toxin on the ground and it makes the puddle, everyone can dip their shit in it, and it lasts until long rest.
Jesus!
So you can throw the bottle on the ground at camp after you've rested, have every single party member dip into the toxin, until the next long rest they'll have that plus I think it's a D4 of acid
something
damage.
Like that. Yeah. I tell you, I do wish that you could use potions on people to some degree.
You can,
instead of just throwing them at them.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
like hand it to them
in their inventory.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I want to be able to like say, "Oh my god," like the one thing, like I've tried to not look up as much as I possibly can with this game, because I don't want to ruin anything. So I went through, and we were like, the first time one of us died, it was funny because we're sitting there like, okay, so like, what do we do? And then the game's like, oh, use a scroll of Revivify. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. And then there was a point where none of us had scrolls of Revivify, and Kayla was dead. I'm like, so what do we do? And it's like, You don't.
Well,
that's the thing. It's like that's the one thing. Like, I need to find this guy.
If you get to level 3, he just shows up at your camp, man.
He just shows up.
Go to your camp and go to the beach. If you're in the normal camp, he'll just be there and he'll say a bunch of weird shit to you. It was weird for me because I never found him, so I was at this like party thing. I don't know how far you are, so I don't want to spoil things, but I'm at this party and then just off on the beach. There's Withers, skeleton, weird-looking ass. So I go over and start talking to him, and he's just like, I'm just here now. Like, oh, okay, bro, where'd you come from? I'm just gonna be here now. Like, it was creepy and weird. I had asked Phil about it. He's like, oh, he revives your party. I'm like, is that what he does? He was real weird about everything, man. Real weird about everything.
He's Merkel.
Oh, is he?
I think so. That's my theory.
So I have one other negative, and I know Phil will back me up to some extent on this negative, and it is the romance options. And here's the thing that I do not hate them. Here's the thing I don't like about the romance options. They're not marked clearly, and I have very, very accidentally flirted with a lot of people. Just thinking I'm having a normal conversation. And, like, I don't understand why Larian couldn't mark the options, romance options, so that you at least knew what you were doing when you were doing it, you know?
Well, and here's the argument against it and my solution. The argument against it is, well, that's not real. You wouldn't have a heart next to the choice, right? But then, okay, it's all voice acted. Have them use their tone. Like, for instance, when Gale says, do you want to learn magic? And I say, yeah. And he's like, okay, let's fuck. Why don't you say, here's a difference. Hey, do you want to learn magic? Sure. Or, hey, baby, you want to learn some magic?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, no.
No, thank you. No, thank you on the magic. I'm sorry. I'm calling shenanigans on the heart, though, because there are tons of times in the game where they use those little brackets to say perception, deception, wisdom on all the skills that you're using. So if they're giving you the pointed clues for, like, what you're using on skills, I don't think it's removed to be like, hey, this is a maybe you fuck option, and this is a maybe you just talk about their past option. You know, like... I would just like a little bit more clarify. I love the romance shit. I've never been in a game where so much of the time I don't know what I'm doing, which is a little bit obnoxious to me.
Yeah, so that's actually one thing we had you had interacted with because Kayla posted about it on Facebook. That was the one time. That was the first time we panic reloaded because we weren't quite sure what the dialogue options, how they were playing out, and we accidentally got in a fight with Scratch. And we were both like, no, we can't kill a dog. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And just immediately reloaded. Like,
I'm sorry, this is not an option. If you don't have somebody who, like, talks to dogs or whatever, then, like, it's very easy to accidentally have a fight with him. Because I almost did.
Did you insult him, like, tell him his owner's fucking dead and, like,
it was like at the very end of the dialogue, because Kayla's playing a druid. So,
you should have been able to do it.
We knew exactly. Yeah. We knew exactly what we were doing. And it was like, hey, you know, your owner's probably dead. And it's like, he's like, oh, no, it's okay. He's, you know, just resting or whatever. And then there was like some other dialogue option. And then one of them was, it was something along the lines of, it was something like, you should probably just move on because he's not coming back or something like that. And he immediately was like, hey, fuck you guys. And then like started fighting. And we tried to like run away and we couldn't get away from him. He's still chasing us.
Fast.
And we were both like, no, I can't do this. We can't do this. So we totally reloaded.
That is a save scum that nobody's going to get upset with.
Like a motherfucker.
You have to save scum that one because you get to play fetch with him. He's the best boy. Scratch is the best boy. You get an achievement literally just for playing with that dog. So like you gotta walk away from that fight. All right, well that's And unless anybody else has any, does anybody else?
Done any.
Yeah, negatives.
Yeah, I haven't done any, but I just want to, my negative is romances.
Yeah.
I hate them. I hate everything about them in this game. Here's why. In a way to be inclusive to everyone in the world, everyone likes every gender and everything. Well, what that does is it makes every dude in the game hit on me, which I'm not interested in, and there's no way to just tell them, hey, I'm not interested, without them being upset, like you've broken their heart. And then, in effect of everything, according to this game, there is no such thing as being friends. There is no bromances that can be had in this game. Like, you can't just be a platonic friend with anything. Either you're romancing a companion, or they're just following you around and you're interacting with their story as normal. There is no witty banter unless you're in a relationship with them. And most of the relationships, I'm not, like, the only one I've dealt with that I like, actually, is either Shadowheart or Lizelle, from the stance that you know what she is. She's this dominating person, and if that's your thing, then okay, it makes sense. But, like, the reason I'm not a fan of Karlach's relationship, it's like that's all that's on her mind, I feel like, is the relationship. Where, like, Shadowheart's feels a little more natural. That's why I enjoy hers.
You don't enjoy being used.
Yeah. I will say this. There's no bromances that I've seen so far. I agree with that. And it could do with a little bit more friendship. I don't necessarily mind that every character is potentially bisexual, but I am 100% in agreement with you that whenever you like, not even just on the romance aspect, have you ever tried to take somebody off your party and put a different person on your party? They get upset with you.
It depends which one. Surprisingly, Lizelle doesn't. She's just like, I think you're making a mistake, and you're like, just stay here.
But even that, like, why do I have to talk them into not being with me? Like there's no, like, there's definitely stiff, even if not, like, approval or statistics, there's definitely stiff conversational consequences for telling somebody no ever. And and I agree with that. Like, it's very easy to, like I said, I don't mind that you can romance everybody. It's just there's very little middle ground. I will say I've found a couple of conversations that didn't push me one way or the other. Like, I've had multiple conversations with Will, and we are no closer to being enemies or effing, basically. It's just all been, like, backstory stuff. That being said, it's all backstory stuff. It's all kind of like exposition. There's no, like, let's just talk and hang out, sort of things. And I agree. There's, like, romance, there's followers, there's no real friendship area. And that is a little bit of a weakness there.
Yeah, if you're nice to Will, he tries to fuck you too. He talks about how he likes dancing, and if you say, "Oh, cool," like, it turns into romance. It's like, Jesus Christ, this is so far-fetched that it's ridiculous.
Well, it is D&D too. It's like it's like the old skit, the girls at the tavern.
And then I don't like that they went so far to do the thing that everything does. Like, think about your female companions in that game and your male companions in that game. Who's the strong ones physically in any respect? The females. There's no strong males in that entire game. Every male.
Bother me at all.
It bothers me because you're just pandering. I don't like being pandered to. I'm cool if one female is strong, but at least have a strong male. Don't make it look like males are wusses and females are badasses. I don't like being pandered to. That's like my biggest issue.
I don't know if I agree with the pandering, honestly. I think they're all pretty fleshed out characters. I don't have any problems with
Your barbarian's a chick, and your fighter's a chick, and your wizard's a dude, and your stealthy guy's a dude.
That just doesn't bother me in any way, shape, or form.
That's fine. I'm telling you my negatives of the game. I don't like being pandered to.
Okay, that's fine. I don't know. I don't feel that that's pandering. But yeah, I do agree though that the conversational like topics it's very like extremes on either side, no matter how you do things.
Yeah, I actually had to reload one of my saves because, Gale has that whole affliction to where he needs to eat up magical artifacts.
Right.
I'm cool with that because that sort of stuff, I play a very specific play style. So I'm sitting on stuff to give to him. But there was one time in particular where he's like, oh my God, I need stuff. So it's like, oh, okay. So that's fine. Just wait a second because it was like the worst possible time. And I'd already given him what I, didn't use. It was just like hey, just give me like a minute. And he's like, nah, actually, fuck you. And then leaves. So I'm like, okay. So I just did a quick Google on that, and sure as fucking shit, like there's no like getting him back or anything. So I'm just like, really? Like I was a little frustrated with it, but I absolutely reloaded because like Kayla and I are playing like we'll have one NPC each.
Right.
So we have our main character to suit our own personal play style for this run through, and then the other one is just like what we would prefer to have as our backup. So like I'm running a barbarian and I have Gale as the other guy that I'm taking care of. So that way, I have that range stuff with the wizard that I, know how to play, and then the barbarian for just running up and hitting shit.
Right.
Yeah.
It does bring in a different dynamic when you play like 2-player. When me and Phil were playing, it's very interesting to be like, all right, which ones am I gonna have, and how is that gonna work in a combat sort of situation? But
so I am curious because we kind of had a little bit of a brief conversation the other day. Is like the amount of crazy shit that we've encountered that's like totally different from everybody else's playthroughs. Like I was telling Zach the other day, we went into the goblin camp very early on, and I was talking to like the witch doctor lady, and somehow through a terrible series of rolls wound up basically getting knocked out and imprisoned by her. Yeah,
I've been there.
Yeah, so, and of course, being a barbarian, you would think that I'd be able to, ace strength checks like a motherfucker, failed out of strength checks on advantage like 3 times in a row. And it's like, I'm actively about to be killed. And then I forget what her name is because I've only ever encountered her once. This lady just walks through from a portal. I guess so. Yeah, I can't remember. Just like walks through a portal and just slits her throat, and she was like, "You are gonna die. Just be careful next time, because I'm not always gonna be watching." And then she disappears, and I'm like,
"Never seen that. Never even been in prison in the Goblin Camp. Not once."
I have.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. Well, and the spider thing, right? Like, that is another thing. We've all done different shit with the spiders, which is kind of crazy as well.
Yeah, I killed them so many different ways.
Yeah, and Phil had said...
Oh, you're talking about in the camp.
Yeah, in the camp, when you can lead them out and talk to them and shit.
I never talk to them. I'm just like, oh, there's a pit of spiders.
So
Neil's is actually interesting. It's even farther than what I did.
What Kayla and I did was very interesting. So Kayla, of course, is playing a druid. So she turns into a spider and climbs down there into the pit. And they're like, "Hey, friendo, we're not going to hurt you. It's all cool." So like she's down there with them, but we realize when she goes down there, she's kind of trapped. So what we did was she had the ability to cast Mage Hand. So she turned back and got a Mage Hand on one of the levers. Then I took control of Gale and did Mage Hand on the other lever, opened up the gate, and let the spiders loose on the inside of the building, and they just started tearing through dudes. Yeah. We just kind of stood up on a platform and just watched the chaos unfold, and I'm just like, this game's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, it is. With the spiders, I did talk to animals, and I talked to them. like just straight talk to them. But I didn't know that they would accept you if you turned into a spider. Like that's even further levels of immersion with that one. That's just so phenomenal. So phenomenal. And plus, the whole Goblin Camp, the resolution to it, I've done completely different than what Phil's done repeatedly as well. Like Phil's attacked it in a much more like smart, logical way, and I've ended up having to go A-bomb on their butts with Halson repeatedly. And it's just, I don't know. I love that game. I love the fact that every time I've had a conversation with Phil or you about it and about the same areas of the game, we have had completely different experiences with even the stuff that we've all done. It'll be like, well, how'd you do that? Oh, I dropped this thing on him. How'd you do it? Oh, I lit him on fire. How'd you do it? I just fucking fought him. You know, it's just so crazy. The Druid Camp, I don't think you're far enough in this yet, Neil, so I don't want to spoil it. But the resolution of the Druid Camp stuff, me and Phil had done completely different things on that one as well, which was really cool to find out. How have you gotten to the Druid Camp resolution yet, man? Neil?
No,
okay.
Because
I don't want to tell you then.
The last time I'd actually been telling Zach this, there's been a couple times that when we've played, we've gotten ourselves into shitty situations. There's like no real way to get out of. No exaggeration. There were like the past 3 times we've played in a row, we've lost like an hour and a half of progress because of something that we did not want to occur, or like got us in a weird spot that like we couldn't deal with the consequences of. And we're like, well, I guess we'll just reload and save and we'll try again the next day.
Phil, they had no idea about the wine in the Goblin Camp.
Yeah, that's cool
that
as
you
shit.
can poison the wine.
Yeah, that's cool as shit.
Yeah.
I figured that out in early access. That was so cool.
Yeah. That game is just it's really good. I can't like it's so good that we have been talking about it now for some time and have not realized how much we've been talking about it because we're already at 56 minutes into this podcast. So we are going to have to move on. Final thoughts. We'll go to Phil first.
As far as like the game goes, aside from my negatives with it, I think it's honestly the best game I've ever played. The way it makes me feel like, even though it's a game that clearly has a story that you're clearly following, you have so much choice and there's consequence to everything. And like on my current playthrough, I'm doing like a Nuzlocke basically, where if they're dead, they're dead, and I don't get to reload. And
dangerous game.
It's just fun playing like that. Like,
you're gonna end up using those hirelings.
I end up making a ton of money because I get to sell all the scrolls of resurrection that I get.
There's always an upside.
Yeah. I like how you're coming up with exploits to your own rules.
Well, I don't need them. So
I was gonna say that's not an exploit. I mean, that's smart.
Yeah, that's the rules I made. I'm playing on tactician, no reloading.
Yeah.
I can pick them up if they go down, but not if they die. And on tactician, it is hard to get because the enemies are way smarter on tactician. So if your ally goes down, they'll target it.
Oh God!
Try to kill it. So you gotta be quick on getting them back up.
Yeah.
Or else they will be dead. And I already killed the vampire dude myself, so I'm down one off the bat.
He always kills Asterion right off the bat.
I hate him. As soon as he tries to bite my neck, I shove a stake through his heart.
Neil, what about you? Final thoughts. Baldur's Gate 3.
I mean, mine's pretty concise. If you had asked me what my game of the year was going to be in about June, I would have told you, unblinking to your face, Tears of the Kingdom. This game has absolutely superseded that. I think that this game here, I would be shocked if this game doesn't make Game of the Year, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I think it'll be an atrocity. For me, final thoughts is just a simple phrase, worth it. You know, every part of not knowing D&D, every part of confusion with the whole cover thing, anything with the interactions with the other characters, it's just so worth it in this game, and this game makes you feel worth it whenever like it's just worth it to play it again because of those options, because of how much it respects your time. And that's something that I truly love. It does require a lot of time, but whenever I'm playing it, I never fail to be entertained. And I'm not a CRPG guy. Like, I play them, I like them. They're not my favorite thing out there. And this one, there was a fight the other day that I was in with these new characters that I don't want to spoil anything. I was telling Phil about it, and just the way just the fight itself completely changed the entire dynamic of how the fights happen. And I've never had a CRPG almost feel like a fight is a set piece. You know what I mean? And this game somehow does that, where it's like some sort of choreographed action scene, even though the action isn't happening. It inspires your imagination. It inspires you to kind of like give a backstory to your character and roleplay your character in game. This is the closest that we have gotten in 2023 to having a pen and paper representation of TTRPGs in a digital space. And that is just an accomplishment that just far supersedes anything else to me.
Oh, can I add one more point?
You could definitely add.
It's a negative for me and a positive at the same time.
Interesting.
Goddamn restart-itis on this game. I've played
yeah.
one 16 times now. Because I'll come up with a new character idea and I'll start over. I should have beat this game like twice, but I've never even seen Act 3 yet.
Phil's frustrated at me because I'm almost past him in the game, and I keep telling him, I'm like, now. I have 3 characters. You have 42, man. Like, there's a reason that I'm almost past you.
I have vowed on this Nuzlocke character to see the end, unless obviously I wipe, but I don't think
that would be hysterical if you die on that character. Sadness, ever sadness. All right, guys, let's hit the news.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to our final segment, the news. This is where we collect smaller news stories that don't necessarily deserve a talking point, or maybe we just don't want to talk about for that much. And we bring them to you here. We talk about them. We riff about them. We let you know all of the stuff. Neil has 5. I have 2, so I'm going to get mine out the way. First one I'm very excited for is Remnant 2 has announced its first DLC. It is coming the 14th of this month, and it promises quite a bit of stuff for its first DLC. Unfortunately, it will be paid. It is a $10 paid DLC, but they are getting you a whole new area to go through in the Lossum. Lossum is getting a bunch of new areas. It's getting a new boss, and they're adding a whole nother fucking class to the game already. So yeah, in addition to those 12 classes that are already in the game, some unlockable, some not, there will be another one being added to the game, as well as a slew of other weapons and stuff. Gunfire Games is on my Developer of the Year nominations for a reason, and it's this game. They're doing a great job with it. I don't mind paying for DLC that's quality and worth it. So I'm probably going to be spending the last of my birthday Steam money on that one.
And only $10 for that stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's not too bad.
Yeah, I'm not upset with it. I don't have a problem with it. I don't mind a $10 DLC if you're giving me something quality. You know what I mean? Like, if it's not just like cosmetics or some shit. I don't mind it. If you're giving me actual content to the game this early, that's fine. I'll give you $10. I don't mind.
And by today's standards, it's very reasonable.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And then my other one is the new BG3 patch came out, Baldur's Gate 3 patch, which fixes like thousands of things. I'm not going to go into that. That's not my thing. Specifically, my thing is BG3 has a sex speedrunner community right now, and apparently they fixed it. They ruined it for him, so you can't get. Apparently, there was a tiefling in Act 1 that you could bully, and Lizelle would just immediately want to go to bed with you, and you can't do that anymore. So they have kind of ruined it for the sex speedrunners, which is hysterical to me. I love the patch notes too. The patch notes was something like, Lizelle will make you earn it now, or something like that. Like it is very comical. So that's it. That's it for me.
All right. So I'm gonna start off with one that's kind of throwaway, but I'm just like, I don't know.
Throw it away.
This sort of shit. I'm gonna throw it away. This shit drives me up a wall.
Okay.
They've announced a brand new Kingdom Hearts game. Called Kingdom Hearts Missing Link. It's a GPS-based action RPG. What the fuck are we doing, guys? Like,
GPS-based,
like augmented reality,
like Pokemon Go,
or Monster Hunter Now, or those kind of things.
Cool. I mean, the lore is already crazy enough. I mean, whatever. Like, I'm a diehard Kingdom Hearts fan, but like, after 3 has come out, like, I was that person who could spout the lore back to you until Kingdom Hearts 3 happened, and I'm just like, all right, we got to chill out with it. Mainline entries only, and they announced Kingdom Hearts 4, but now they're doing like this mobile.
I don't know how you do it, man. I really don't know how you do it.
The thing is, like, I'm not like this is not moving the needle. I will not play this game. No part of me wants to play this game.
I'm writing it down. I'm writing it down, Neil. I'm holding you to it.
No, you do not have to even.
I don't want to hear about like 2 months from now. You're like, I actually played that Kingdom Hearts AR game. Well, not so bad.
They had that.
I'd be like, Neil, I'm coming to your house. I'm smacking you one.
They had that rhythm-based music game that came out like 2-3 years ago too. Yeah, it's just like just slap the IP on something and people will buy it.
I hate
and the worst part is like the main community. If you tell them that there's going to be a 3-second section of a cutscene that's going to further the story, they'll throw any amount of money at it.
And that's what's insane to me. I don't understand how those people do not see that this is diluting the franchise as a whole.
Right.
Like, I mean, not to say that franchise was not already in a rough spot. But like, you just keep adding shit to it.
When I have to draw, that's what I played 3, and I was like, I need a Venn diagram to understand it. I'm done.
and that's the shit of it too. Is like, if you shut off all the lore, you just play the game for the game. It was great. The combat was great. It flowed. It was fantastic. And then you get these info dumps that if you haven't played 70 plus hours of 10 prior games, it's going to mean literally nothing to you.
Right.
So we're going to go into a bunch of, actually, I think just about, tell you what, we'll do one more and the rest of it's all Microsoft. Fun fact, apparently Epic is now suing Google. We get to do this again. For the same exact reasons, for the same exact thing.
It wasn't last time they sued.
It was Apple.
It was
Apple last time. And the stupid shit of this is Epic basically won this case.
Yeah.
They were like, don't be idiots. So, and they already said that there's implications for other, digital storefronts, a la Google. So they basically have already like ahead of time made a judgment on this case, but Epic is like, no, I want to waste more money.
Well, hey, they can't make any money off their fucking video game storefront. They've got to make it somewhere, right?
Right.
So let's go ahead and make it by just suing other companies that do their job better than them.
Yeah, so that started on Monday. So
good.
That's going to be fun. The only thing that I'm looking forward to is those little leaks and bits and bobs of information that come out in court docs.
Yeah, that's always fun. That's always fun. You find out, like, they were trying to build a Godzilla machine or something like that. There's always some shit in there like that. It's crazy.
So the rest of this stuff is going to be all Microsoft based. We'll start with the one that we alluded to.
You're just trying to make me mad.
Well, what sucks?
I think you're part of some sort of weird conspiracy to make me rage every week.
And what really sucks too is I always try to have like one dumb, funny, random one to say for the last one. I don't have a dumb, funny, random.
Oh no!
So it's all going to be negative and sadness.
Oh no! Goody. Here we go. Let's do it.
So
Yay!
We just got done talking last week about, Halo Infinite is having this resurgence.
Yeah.
Steam player count has doubled. Like it's on the up and up. They are already burning all of that goodwill. So one of the things that players demanded was a change to how the cosmetic system worked.
Okay.
So in an effort to make more money, they decided to make
doing the opposite.
Yeah, they decided to make all of the cosmetic things, the coatings basically, or the coatings that they were calling them, all the color swaps consumables. So it's a one-time use, and you apply it to the armor.
So if you want your armor to be red, you have to have a red armor for every time you play a match?
Well, it's not even that. It's like you have the armor set, and then you can apply that color to that set. But you couldn't say, I like this color set that I have. I want to apply it to this other armor set.
Ugh.
It like attaches to it permanently.
Ugh.
So that was already stupid enough. But one of the things that people complained about, of course, was, that system. It's dumb. It's stupid. It doesn't make sense. Well, they made the change and allowed people to have the color set be applied across all of the cores for the armor sets. For some reason, they called them the cores. But in making that change, they kicked the prices up on all of the different colors.
Of course. Why not? Why not?
Like, we hate to. It was their response to this was, we really hate to see it happen, but it's kind of the way of things. So they'll give you anything that you want if you ask for it enough and pay for it. That's the motto of the story there.
That's terrible. That's like a murderer telling you it was your fault for walking outside at night. Like that's fucking
like
insanity.
It was my fault we got rear-ended because for ice cream.
Exactly. I don't even know if I can use that on the show, so we probably shouldn't reference it on air.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, this is fucking insanity. Like, this is insanity. And what blows my... For them to change it, right? They must not have been selling. And that's the thing. That's where it leads me to believe, is that they did this to make money off of us, right? They're like, oh, fuck them. They'll pay. They'll pay for colors. And then if they were like, okay, well, now you can do colors everywhere, but we're going to jack the price up, they must not have made money on the original idea in the first place, because they would have never changed it. Nothing changes if they're making money off of it. So you're just burning more and more goodwill this way. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's fucking stupid. Especially in a game that's already hemorrhaging players like a fucking open knife wound that the murderer did to me in the beginning of the joke. The fucking... you can't keep a player there. You can't keep a player base. You've already announced that this game is basically dead because you're making a new one, even though you said this was your ongoing game. But now you're going to try and rake people over the clothes for the color red? Like, it's just fucking insanity, man. It's fucking insanity.
Well, speaking of fucking insanity, we'll just slide right on to the next one. This is the one that I would be surprised if you didn't hear about.
Okay.
Beginning this month, Microsoft is apparently going to begin blocking unauthorized third-party accessories on the Xbox One, Xbox Series S, and Xbox Series X.
I did not.
What do they mean by accessories?
I did not hear about that.
Oh, so
accessories would be controllers,
headphones,
headphones.
Like that. Yes. So if you plug anything in that is not Microsoft certified, you'll get an error message saying that it is not compatible, and the console will prevent you from using it.
Dude, that's gonna piss so many people off, especially with headphones.
Especially for people who have already purchased headphones, let alone the ones that are going to be purchasing in the future.
What blows my mind is this could make things obsolete that people are already using. Like, people already have those headphones. We're not even talking about headphones that they're just buying today. We're talking about headphones they've had for 2 years that they like.
It could be $500.
It could be a controller. It could be Mad Cats or some shit. I mean, I'm sure they'll probably certify all the big name alternatives, but, like, you could have a controller you love, and they're going to be like, nope, can't do it anymore.
Their excuse for it was by using unauthorized third-party accessories, the experience of the game is not what Microsoft wants the player
so sick
to
of corporate
experience.
speech.
That's such bullshit.
Exactly.
Such bullshit. So sick of corporate speech.
The only legitimate argument that I have heard for this is, I forget exactly what it's called, but it's like a cheat module that you plug into the Xbox and it gives you mouse and keyboard support. Fine, if that's the case,
I guess.
And you know the digital signature of this device, yeah, like that sort of stuff. Okay, I get. But
I only get it because of online competitive multiplayer shooters.
Exactly.
Any other space, it doesn't matter. It's just because it gives them a slight advantage in there.
Yeah, but to be fair, most of those online competitive games are
crossplay. Yeah,
crossplay. So who cares?
I don't think
exactly.
When I play Call of Duty, I'm playing with guys I'm playing on PC, but they're playing on PS5 or whatever.
Yeah, and the thing is too, like, okay, so let's take their argument at face value. Let's say that's the case. Okay, well, if you can know that there's no, hardware signature associated with something, then you would also know what the signature of that device is that you're really, on about. Fine, block those. The people who, like you'd mentioned, bought headphones, bought controllers and stuff, I would imagine like something like a SCUF controller is going to be certified, because god fucking damn, those things are like $300 goddamn dollars. I'd be pissed if I purchased something like that, have used it for years, and because one day on a whim, Microsoft is like, I don't know, you should probably buy this Elite V2 instead. Oh, hell no.
If they care so much about however you phrased it, the experience, maybe they should worry about the broken ass games that they allow to be put out first.
I think really what this is all about is wringing a few more dollars out of third-party accessory publishers, because what this is going to boil down to is that Mad Cats or whatever has to pay for a certification so that their controllers can be used on Xbox, and they're going to have to do that, or they're going to have to cut the revenue in half. Same with the headphones and everything else. What absolutely drives me nuts about this is, and I hate to put the tinfoil hat on right now, but I said that if this Activision deal goes through, we're going to start seeing more and more bullshit that Microsoft does, because they can get away with it, because they own so much. This is what, like the third or fourth thing that they've just put into play, like that is like, hey, guess what? Fuck you. Because they're too big to fail right now. And it's just this kind of shit. This is why I didn't want this fucking deal to go through. It all still comes from this. Do we really think they'd be ballsy enough to alienate the entire third-party accessory market if they didn't have Call of Duty, and everybody on the third-party accessory market who makes headphones for Call of Duty, who make controllers specifically for Call of Duty, like, weren't afraid of getting boxed out? Like, it's just frustrating to me that, because this is just going to continue. We're going to keep hearing about this for the next few years. Microsoft is just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.
So, speaking of things getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yay.
The final Xbox Microsoft-based one. So, this is one that has actually changed and updated today, I believe it was, that it updated since I originally got the news story. So originally, Microsoft was going to stop providing Game Pass Ultimate to Microsoft employees for free as a job perk.
What?
Yeah.
Good God, you can't even give it to them?
Can't even give it to your own people. That they were going to be able to go to the.
I mean, why would they need it? They're not going to have
Microsoft-
enough time to play the games they make.
Right. They originally were going to be able to go to the internal Microsoft store and purchase a 1-year subscription at a reduced cost.
Oh, goody.
But apparently, don't you worry, because good old Phil Spencer didn't know nothing about this one way or another know-how, and he's swooping in and saying, not on my watch. And
so he engineered this. He engineered this for good publicity. That's what it is.
That's what I'm thinking.
He was like, take their Xbox away, and then I'm gonna put my fucking leather jacket over my sport coat or whatever, and I'm gonna walk out there in business casual and be like, hey, I'm Phil Spencer. I'm everybody's best friend. I don't care about making money. I just want you guys to play games. It's fucking. Oh man. Oh man.
Yeah,
Ooh,
real skeezy, scummy shit.
Didn't wait to show up at BlizzCon either. I don't know if you noticed that.
I heard about that. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like a kid having a party.
Yeah.
And then their parent just walks in all of a sudden, like, "Don't worry, guys, I'm cool.
Yeah.
I won't tell your parents."
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
God, it really is. It's like. It's almost cringy.
Honestly,
now.
It's more like the kid having the party is Phil Spencer, and everybody who comes to the party is only coming to the party because they're afraid that their parents will get fired because Phil Spencer's dad owns the factory where they all work. So none of the kids actually want to be there, but Phil Spencer thinks he's having the best party ever. The fucking dude. I got a fun one to end on. Did you see the new Overwatch character?
No.
It's fucking Maui. I don't know how they're not getting sued. I do not know how they're getting sued. Mauga. Type it in. Mauga Overwatch. It's fucking Maui. Like Disney's Maui. Disney's Moana Maui. I don't know how Disney isn't suing them. It's insane to me. It's Mwagu or something like that.
Yeah,
it's Maui. It's fucking Maui. And I don't know. There's one where he has armor on. There's one where he has armor on, and then there's another one where he has his shirt off. He's got the same fucking tattoos.
He does, yeah. Is it voiced by The Rock?
Right. Right. Right.
He's you're welcome to draw any comparisons you may want.
Just shoots everybody and then sings "You're welcome" to everyone. Yeah, it'd be hilarious.
God.
Off key and pretends he can sing. Yeah. So that's my fun one. All right. Well, that's the news. Let's wrap up the show. What does everybody think about that? We indeed. We indeed.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to an end of another show. Guest always gets to go first. Philbilly 330, thanks for joining us and chatting BG3. It was a lot of fun. Do you have anything you want to plug, sir?
More on our Let's Play will probably be dropping shortly. We got to get a couple more in
we do.
In the bag. That's the playthrough where Zach and I go through BG3 and try to role play our characters while we do so. And then as far as the TTRPG side, I would appreciate if you guys checked out the two that I'm involved in, including Astral Drive, which is every other Wednesday. That one goes up, which will be this coming Wednesday, right? Yeah.
Yes.
This coming Wednesday will be episode 14, I think. It should be an exciting one because we're all in a whole lot of trouble and things got real in the last one.
Deep in enemy territory.
And also TMNT and Other Strangeness, which is a monthly show on Thursdays. We just played last week. It was a really good episode, and that is Wizard's Respite, as well as Hope Child in that one, and myself and Zach is the DM for both. But yeah, they're a lot of fun. Please check them out.
We will. And the Baldur's Gate Let's Play is coming soon. We don't have a release date yet because me and Phil have a very hard time finding time to record. Once we find one, so I want a wealth of episodes before we start posting. But I have the first 3 edited, so it'll be soon. It'll be soon. Neil, what would you like to plug?
The end coming. The end is nigh for Redfall Down. We got a bunch of them done up here.
Are you actually close?
Yeah, we are.
Actually are. Yeah,
we looked it up. We looked it up because we almost did it. I think we've got one more episode to record. Just one more.
I think it's gonna turn into 2. I think honestly, it's going to turn into 2.
It might.
Because it was one of those things to where, like, the last time we recorded is like, hey, the stars have aligned. We're ready to go. We can start early. I believe the phrase that was initially used when we were talking about starting it early that day was maybe we can get another one of these fucking things out ahead of time. So from there, when we did our last little bit that we recorded, we did stop and take a look and see how close we are. Mm-hmm. I believe it's only 2 more missions left.
2 more missions, yeah.
Now you know what's going to happen is it's going to be some stupid shit to where you're going to have to get like 5 underboss skulls.
Some insanity.
The final
some
door.
Insanity.
So, I mean, it's
I'm
gonna
determined
be a thing.
that our next session of recording is our last section. Though
I don't know if you're going to get that.
We have at least 4 episodes that haven't even come out yet. I'm editing them tomorrow.
We are going to be going into. We're probably going to be going into the new year with this.
Yeah, you will.
I think we're going to be going into the new year with this easy.
I'd like to be done before the new year, though.
Well, that's a possibility. That's a possibility. We record on the other Wednesday that you're not doing Astral Drive. So, so I mean, we're on our way there with that. And I had a thought, and it just went out of my head. I don't know.
If you remember, jump in, man. It's totally fine.
Silence.
That was weird. That was weird. So I'm just going to go then. And if you remember whatever it was, say it.
I probably won't.
All right. As for me, you can check out everything this channel has to offer. Check out all the fine things that these guys have already said. Also, OMGM on the video game side, which is Old Man General Manager. Me and Jeremy book against each other in WWE 2K23. It's heating up in Season 3, and I'm getting my ass handed to me, and I can't figure out why. It's really fun to watch me melt down and watch Jeremy laugh at me for it. And then Sundays, me and my wife play video games way too much. Oregon Trail, because that's the game she always wants to play. But that's Sundays. You can check that out. I'm back to streaming. Right now I'm doing Age of Wonders 4 on Tuesdays. And yeah. Other than that, on the TTRPG side, I do also have a TTRPG company called Axiom Games LLC, TTRPG being tabletop role-playing game. If you are interested in a tabletop role-playing game that is rules light, but still has some interesting character build mechanics, while also being great for home brews and mods, and it's only $6, check it out on itch.io. And type single mod in the search bar, and I will come up, as I am the only game called single mod on that provider. Other than that, you guys can reach us out. I know, I didn't even mean it. Other than that, you guys can reach us on Facebook at OldManGamingDH, on Twitter at OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord. The link is in the description below. Influence this and all of our shows from there. As usual, keep watching, keep listening. We'll keep making them. See you guys next time. We out. Good show, guys.
It's amazing how long you could talk about that game, because there's so much we didn't even get into.
No, and I wanted to, and I just looked down at the clock and I was like, we're at 56 minutes. We can't keep talking about this.
Like, I wanted to point out that it's like one of the only games of recent memory where you buy the game and you have the game. There's no there's nothing else to it.
That's wild to me. I mean, honestly, I'm sure they could find something, but what the fuck else can you put into that game?
Yeah.
According to them, they have no interest, and if they came out with the DLC, they would, but other than that, they're not. Yeah, cosmetics and stuff are in there,
Yeah, I agree.
From what I saw something too, that they're not, like, they straight up were like, oh, we're never doing anything this in depth again, like. because it was like multi-year, like, because I didn't realize when early access like really started for this game.
It was 3 years of early access.
Yeah, I felt like, I don't know why, I felt like it was just like last year.
It did
or
feel
something that
like
they
less
started.
time, but it was a lot. Yeah. Still, it's great. It is just all in one package. I love that. I'm excited for DLC though. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of want to see what they put forth if they do put something forth.
They haven't. They've kind of alluded to. Well, they've alluded that they're working on their next game, so it doesn't sound like it.
Right. I would love it if they just added. Well, they need to add mod support. We've already talked about that, you and me, Phil.
They are doing that, yeah.
And I would love them to add, like, the Artificer and maybe some more classes. I don't know how many more classes there are in D&D, but, like...
A ton.
Yeah, that's what I assume, but, like, that would be really cool, you know?
You've got, it's mostly subclasses. So, like, the Artificer is the one that's, like, an actual, like, main class.
Right.
From there, I mean, there's stuff like Drake Warden that you could, get away with, which is like a Ranger subclass. But, like, yeah, there's tons and tons of subclasses now at this point, too.
I think it would be really cool to see more of that. I don't even need more content because I feel like there's just so much in the game already that, like... just give me more ways to play through it, like more, like, just give me new ways to, like, play through it with different abilities and stuff, or even, like, another couple of companions would be cool, just add to what's already there. I don't even need more story.
There's so many companions in that game too. Have you noticed? Yeah. Or people in that game that could have been companions.
Yeah.
Like that Bard chick in Act 1.
Yeah,
that you helped sing.
I really wanted her to join. Yeah, honestly, I wanted to date her. I liked her. She was really cool. I think there would have been a lot of cool companions. I like the hirelings, but I just wish there was a little bit more to them, I guess. Especially now that I know that I could literally respec any character to be whatever I wanted anyway. Why wouldn't I just respec whoever and get the better dialogue options,